Okay, everyone, let's just wait 30 seconds. Our moderator is just joining us to the session. Hello, Gordon, can you hear us?
Yes,
Hi.
I can hear you.
Hi, Gordon.
Hello.
So, hello, everyone. Welcome to our Blue Mission AA weekly hour. It's the first session of the new year. So, my name is Ana Faria. I'm a member of the Blue Mission AA project at the Air Center. And today's webinar will be focused on how to integrate citizen science and nature-based solutions to effectively engage stakeholders. And for that matter, I'm pleased to introduce you to today's session moderator, Gordon Dalton. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for accepting this invitation. So Gordon is a senior researcher at PLOCA in the Grand Canaria, and he's the coordinator of the PHAROS project. And I'm also pleased to introduce you to today's speaker, Sonia Linha, from the Institute for Marine Science in Barcelona. Thank you, Sonia, also for accepting our invitation. And I would now pass on my word to Gordon, maybe to briefly introduce Sonia background and let you lead the session. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Anna, and thank you to Blue Mission AA for inviting PHAROS to present. PHAROS has a obligation and requirement to collaborate with sister projects in the area, and our sister projects in particular, are the CSA actions, the Blue Mission AA and Prep for Blue. Prep for Blue is a partner in our project already. And our other sister project is BioProtect. So the PHAROS project is an innovation action, and we have two main cornerstones of what we will be delivering in PHAROS. The second really, are a series of demonstrations where we will be deploying nature-based designs in 4 demonstrations. We will then be having we've just approved today at steering committee 5 replication sites where we will be proposing plans of how to replicate these demonstrations of nature-based designs. But equally important to our project is our work package 2, which is our where we've put together a very interesting collection of tasks dealing with how PHAROS is of benefit to society. This is led by CSIC from Barcelona, the Center of the Marine in Barcelona, and they are leading 5 tasks. The first task in citizen engagement. The second is in marine protected areas and corridors. The third is in blue schools. The 4th task is in fisher guardians and training for fisher community, and the 5th is in litter. Sonia and CSIC and her team are leading specifically the citizen engagement and stakeholder engagement, and are also have a responsibility for blue schools. So I'm going to hand over to Sonia to then present on behalf of PHAROS on the citizen engagement section and other aspects relevant to what she's doing in the project. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Gordon. So I'm going to share my presentation. Okay, can you see it?
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Well, as Gordon said, I'm Sonia Linha from the MBMOS research group in the Institute of Marine Science. We do research in participatory science, and my role is to research in citizen science engagement and stakeholder engagement related with citizen science projects and the creation of living labs. Today I'm going to try to explain you what is citizen science. Maybe some of you already know what it is, but I will do like a brief introduction of what citizen science is. how citizens can participate in your project, like different roles that a citizen can perform, and how stakeholders can help you to engage citizens and to organize and perform the citizen science project to have a meaningful impact. We always say that if you want to have a real impact in your projects, you have to involve different kind of stakeholders, from government to NGOs, but because you cannot do it do it alone. So let's start from the beginning. It's like explaining what citizen science is. There are a lot of different definitions of what is citizen science, but they all have in common that it involves obviously citizens. But in the last years, everybody agrees that you have to involve citizens in different levels. So a citizen science project is not just to leverage your gathering of the data into a citizen, so that citizens cannot just ask as like human sensors to gather data. They can also participate in other stages in the process. Here is the definition from the European Commission, but you also have this definition that is one of the first definitions of citizen science that we have, that it says that it's a novel scientific field which engage members in the public to create this knowledge and address real world problems. I really like this definition because it really embraces the idea of involving the citizens in different stages and to have a meaningful and a real impact in the problems that you are working with. Also, you have, for example, this European Greek paper that I recommend you to read if you have the time. I just wanted to stress again that, they are talking about citizens participating in different levels, performing different roles, etc. And also, a few years ago, the European Citizen Science Association published these 10 principles of citizen science that are really, really useful to understand what citizen science is in a European level. And it also stresses again that the citizen science collaboration is bidirectional, so they are also contributing to creating the knowledge, to analyze, to raise the questions, etc. I'm not going to go too deep because I will be talking about this for hours. And before starting to talk about stakeholder engagement, etc., I wanted to share this with you because it's really, really important to have in mind which will be the roles of the public, of the participants, or the volunteers, or the citizens, or your project. As you can see here, a citizen can participate from the beginning of the project, like choosing or defining the research question, until the end of the project, analyzing the data, discussing the results, etc. So the more traditional citizen science projects are contributive, so people are just gathering data. Actually, the majority of the projects now use the citizens to gather the data. Sometimes they can analyze the data, and sometimes they can spread the conclusions, etc. And there are also another kind of project that we call collaborative, where people also gather the data, but also analyze the data. Sometimes they can design even the methodologies to gather the data. Sometimes they can interpret the data, but they are involved in this like gathering and analyzing. And the most more open and uncommon of the projects is the co-created ones, where citizens can participate from the beginning until the end. So they can choose a question, they can choose a methodology, they can design how to gather the data, they can analyze the samples, analyze the data, they can discuss the results, etc., etc., etc. But it doesn't mean that a single person will be performing all the roles. Usually what you have is that you have a group of persons or group of people, that are interested in choosing the area or arising the research questions, but they are not interested in gathering the data, for example. And you will have another group of people interested in gathering the data because maybe they are interested in going into the natures and taking pictures or gathering samples, etc., but they are not interested in designing how to do it or analyzing, etc. And you will have another group just interested in analyzing the data, and another group that is super like policy oriented, that is interested in discussing and trespassing these results, etc. So you will have to think that when you're creating a citizen science project, you will have a variety of people in your project interested in different kind of things. So you have to think in an engagement strategy for each one of these groups, and you will have also to think which kind of stakeholders can help you to engage these particular groups if you want to create this like co-creation citizen science project with a lot of people and all the roles covered. Europe is tending to this. Year by year, month by month, all the citizen science projects they tend to be like more co-created with different roles, but there is still a lot of contributive project, and that's okay. That's okay too. And now I wanted to talk to you about citizen observatories, because citizen observatories is the tool that we use to do citizen science. Since I'm working in the Institute of Marine Science, we always say, okay, if you are, our colleagues are studying, I don't know, the water quality in the Arctic, so they go with a ship. So our ship is the citizen science observatory. So we need a platform to gather the data, to allow people to discuss, etc., etc. And here in Europe, we call it citizen observatories to these infrastructures, but in different countries and in different areas, they call it like participatory observatories or citizen science platforms, etc. We are always talking about the same, but a citizen science observatory, it's an infrastructure that allows you to gather the data, allow the participants to gather the data. It's bi-directional, so the citizens can talk, but you can also reply and etc. Is citizen generated, and they use usually like apps or mobiles. They are like technology-based platforms. Here you have a lot of examples of different kind of citizen observatories. There are a lot of different citizen science observatories. The first one, MINKA, is the one we have developed in our research group that allows you to monitor biodiversity and environmental data, but it also allows you to discuss the results in a forum. It also allows you to analyze the results, etc. But you have a huge amount of different kind of citizen observatories, and depending on your project, it will be better for you to use one or another. You have to check what it's offering you, and you can choose the one that fits most your objectives and your project. For example, here you have a citizen science observatory that can connect with with do-it-yourself devices. There are ones that are just an app in your mobile phone. Other ones are, are linked, for example, to a camera trap. Other ones just allow you to upload pictures, etc., etc. There are, as I said, a huge amount of different citizen science observatories now. And all of them present challenges and solutions. The most common challenges for a citizen science project and a citizen science observatory is the data quality that we'll be talking about now, the long-term participation, the long-term engagement, and the accessibility, because sometimes we use technological platforms and not everybody is like willing to have a smartphone, or they don't have Wi-Fi, or they are not used to use technology, etc. But we have developed a series of solutions, such as training and using user-friendly tools, giving them continuous feedback, etc., etc. Before starting talking again about citizen science engagement and stakeholder engagement, I think it's important to understand what is the difference between like the traditional monitoring systems and the participatory monitoring systems. when we are trying to work with nature-based solutions, when we are trying to work, like, for example, in marine protected areas, so when we are working in something that we want to create really an impact, I think it's very important to differentiate these two concepts. So first of all, like, imagine that you want to measure a natural phenomena. So you have to decide in this particular area that you want to study how many parcels, how many sample stations you will have. And at the beginning, it's like you cannot know which will be the ideal number. It will be like 13 or 34 or more than 100. So you think, okay, ideally, I want more than 100. Like, the more the merrier. I want to collect as much data as possible, etc. But usually this is not possible because you don't have like human resources, or you don't have money to do so, or you don't have the time, etc. So the thing is that with conventional science, you have to choose a few spots. You cannot cover all the territory. So you will have really accurate observations because the priority is to maximize the quality of the observations, but you will cover less territory. But with participatory monitoring, with the one that you can do with citizen science, it's kind of the contrary. So you will cover a lot of territory because you will be having citizens and people in all the territory, gathering samples, data, etc. But the data will be less accurate because the priority is not to maximize the quality of the data, is to maximize the coverage of the territory. So imagine with an example that, again, you want to study the biodiversity or the water quality, for example, of a coastal area. So the ideal solution is that you will not have lots of information, so you will be able to gather all the information and you will obtain accurate observations in each one of the observations points. So you will have the perfect pattern of your parameters. So you will have like the variations of the pattern and the exact pattern that you need to study. But this ideal case, as I said, it's usually not possible for economic, human resources, etc. So the more realistic options are like the conventional science with a few spots, or the citizen science participatory that will maximize the territory. And what are the advantages and disadvantages of the two models? So, well, with conventional science, as I said, you will have more accurate data, but less observation. So imagine that you have only resources to put like 3 measure stations. So you will have these 3 points. They will be very, very accurate. The data will be very, very accurate, but you will have less data. But with citizen science monitoring, you will have less accuracy of the data, but a lot of observations. And at the end, as you can see, sometimes conventional science can lead you to an error because you are not seeing like the exact pattern of your parameter, the parameter that you're studying. But with citizen science, even that you have this error, but because you can see like the pattern is not exactly the same, but it looks more like the ideal one than the conventional science. But for citizen science to be able to predict and to see this pattern, and that the accuracy doesn't matter, you need a lot of observations. So if you don't have a lot of observations and you don't maximize the people participations, the data will be not accurate and you will have few spots. So you have like the worst of the conventional science side, I mean. So we need more data. We need more data from all the places and all times to do a good citizen science project. So you have these like traditional technologies, and you have to try to substitute it from citizen observatories. Because we always say, okay, people can help us to achieve this goal because there is people everywhere in all the places, and all the times there is people. Even when you go like to the hikers mountain and you go to this paradisíac beach that you will think that you'll be alone, there will be people. So we have to rely in people to help us to gather the data, even if this data is not as accurate than the one collected from the traditional science. And also it's complementary. It doesn't mean that you don't have to collect data, of course, from the conventional technologies. Usually it's something that you can combine and they complement each other. So it's a good idea to add citizen science to your project if you are not doing so. But well, we have said then with citizen science, the important thing is that you need a lot of data, so you need a lot of people. So it's important to recruit and engage participants. And this is like an eternal discussion. Everybody's talking like, okay, so engagement is very important in citizen science, but how to do it, how we can engage people? Well, we use a citizen science engagement method that it takes into account this multi-temporal approach, because we realize that when we are working in a citizen science project, we have different kind of stakeholders participating. We have the citizens, the volunteers, etc. But we also have like academia, we also have governments or city councils, decision makers. We also have NGOs, civil society, etc. And we all work at different paths. For example, citizens, the volunteers, the people that will be gathering the data, for example, they need feedback in minutes to days, because people is used to use Instagram and TikTok, etc. And we are in a society where people doesn't have the passion to wait 2 years until an academic publish a paper using their data. They need like an answer and a reward now. So you have to create short-term rewards, triggers, etc. from them. But as I said, we, the academia and the policymaker, we spend a lot of time analyzing the data, creating these scientific outputs, and this at the end will be reported to the volunteers, and they will know that, okay, my work is being useful, and they are doing this with mass data, etc., etc. But if you have to wait 2 years for that, people will not be longer participating in your project. And that's why we have developed this, what we call a Janus engagement framework. We call it Janus in honor of the Roman god Janus, that is a double-faced god, because in our engagement methodologies, we always take into account that we have these various different kind of stakeholders, and we always have to look to the citizens and the participatory community, but also to the academia, the policymakers, the NGOs, the civil society, etc. So to do so, we use this model. I'm not going to explain that, but it's just to know that we use what we call frameworks based on behavioral change. We also use frameworks based on social experience and user experience if you are using a technological platform. We also take into account strategies to maintaining the volunteer motivation, and also strategies for incrementing the volunteer ability, because you are asking them to do something, so you have to provide them with the necessary skills to do so. So the idea is that you have like all these different kind of actions, and usually you cannot do it alone. Usually you do it with different kind of stakeholders, and it's one of the stakeholders helps you to achieve the final goal of your project. Here, for example, is an example that I'm not going to go into of how this framework, this Janus engagement framework, can help you with the rewards. So because we take into account these short-term interactions, but also the long-term ones. So if you're interested, we have a paper here that you can check and you can read it. But just in summary, I just wanted to say that you will be needing a stakeholder engagement for any kind of citizen science engagement methodology. You can use our genus engagement method, you can use another method, but you will be needing this stakeholder engagement. You cannot go alone if you want to have a successful citizen science project, or you have to have like a real impact. We have detected that like the 4 essential engagement roles are this one, like the triggers, the motivation of the people, reducing the potential barriers or incrementing the skills, and generating rewards and acknowledgement for the volunteers. And we always, in our projects, we always use the stakeholders from the Quintuple Helix of Innovation. For those who doesn't have heard about the Quintuple Helix of Innovation, it's an helix that is used in technology and in other, in a lot of different kind of projects and environments. And it just say that the academia, the government, the industry, and the citizens, they are interacting together in a particular natural and social environment. So in our projects, what we do is to have like academia, government, and industry working together at the heart of our project. So when we are starting a living lab, or we are creating a new citizen science project, we always think, okay, this is my goal, I want to do this. So which will be the stakeholders that will go with me to obtain this, or to help me to achieve this goal. Because when you have the industry that it's also SMEs, civil society, NGOs, etc., in your project, and you also have the city councils or the people in charge of managing this environmental area, policymakers, decision makers, etc., with the academia, we all together can create a real product that will be implemented and that will be like useful, and will also be very, very appreciated for the citizens. So they will be willing to participate more in your project, but you as industry or academia or whatever, you will have a better impact in your project. So we always say that collaboration is key. We work a lot with different kind of stakeholders, and we have found that where it enhances the knowledge and the co-creation, it also helps us to increase the data quality and the credibility of the data that we are collecting. It also helps us to engage more citizens because they feel like more empowered and they feel this ownership of the project and the results. And it also helps us to align the community with policy advocacy, etc., etc. And here you have an example. This is a living lab that it has been working 7 years, I think now, in the metropolitan area of Barcelona. And we have represented here the different communities of stakeholders that we have. We have, of course, the citizens, the participatory community. We are asking them to take pictures of underwater species in the coast of Barcelona, in the urban Barcelona beach. We also have the academic community, that it's our research group from the Institute of Marine Science. They collect these pictures and they upload it to MINKA, that it's a citizen science platform that we have developed. But we also curate the results. And also, and very important, we have the mobilizing community, that it's like the industry and civil society sphere of the Quintuple Helix of Innovation. This mobilizing community in Barcelona, it's an SME called Anelidas, that they are working with environmental activities, cleaning of the beaches, snorkeling activities, etc., but also FECDAS, that it's the Federation of Underwater Activities, and they have a huge network of scuba diving centers that they are organizing scuba diving activities and collecting these biodiversity observations. And also we have the facilitating community that is basically city councils, the city council in Barcelona, Sant Adrià de Besòs, in different cities in the metropolitan area of Barcelona, and they help us to spread the word, to disseminate these activities, to facilitate the permits. Also, they are using the data to improve the management of the areas, etc., etc. And as you can see, these communities are not working alone. They are interacting always into each other. So we work as a team. It's not that we, the Institute of Citizen Science, we have created the project and it's ours. Actually, it's a collective and co-organized living lab, organized citizen science project, and that's why it's really working. And that's MINKA. This MINKA. MINKA is the citizen science platform that we are using to collect the data. You can upload observations there, biodiversity observations, and you can comment it, you can share it, you can create a project, etc., etc. And we have managed now to have the largest Mediterranean biodiversity photograph database. Thanks to this, the replication of this living lab in Barcelona has been replicated in other areas in Catalonia. And you can download it, you can use it, you can check it. And there's a lot of different kind of languages, and it's been translated into a few more. But just now, let me explain how the stakeholders works in this living lab. So the idea is that we have these engagement roles, the triggers, the motivation, the reduction of the barriers, and the rewards and the acknowledgement, and we work together to fulfill these roles and to perform these roles. And I'm going to show you a few examples from this living lab in the metropolitan area in Barcelona. First, we have the triggers. The triggers is something that you do to ask people to do an action. So it could be a notification in your mobile phone, it could be an email, etc. So we designed MINKA to be able to do so. So each time that someone comments your observation or validate your observation or say, no, you're wrong, you have said that this is species but not, oh, what a beautiful picture you have published, etc. Then you receive a notification in your application, an email, etc. But we also use triggers such as targeted messages. We have this mobilizing community, that is me and the Federation of Underwater Activities, because they already had a database of people interested in this. They was already organizing scuba diving and snorkeling activities. So we just asked them, okay, this can help you to create a new activity for your clients. You can make money with this because more people will be interested in participate, or maybe you can recruit new clients, but maybe you can have clients that are bored of your activities and they can participate more now. So they are using these platforms, their websites, the social media accounts, the newsletters, etc., to create these new activities and to ask people to join the guided activities. And one of the most important roles and one of the most important things to engage people is the motivation. We do so with rewards. For example, we try to identify very, very quick the observations. If someone uploads an observation today, we try that tomorrow this observation will be validated and with research rate. We also had participation, we participate in a BioBlitz, in an extended BioBlitz that it's called BioMarathon, where people can receive awards if they report the maximum amount of observations. So like they can win this biomarathon. But we also try to share their knowledge or share their videos in social media. They really love them to be in our social media channels. And also we let them upload any kind of observation. We have this bottom-up approach. We are interested in the metropolitan area of Barcelona in the coastline, but then you can upload any kind of living organism. We are not telling them, okay, we are interested in jellyfish, or we are interested in algae, or no, whatever you want, you can upload it, and that's it. And also we help them to learn. Learning, it's a really good motivation for people. We organize the academic and the mobilizing community. We organize together identification sessions so people can learn how to identify common species. There are identification sessions that are like for the most common species, but also like super specific and tricky species for experts that have been participating in the project for more years. But also we try to write them and to interact with them within MINKA. So we have a community, a community manager in our research group that talks with the people and tell them, okay, congratulations, you have found this algae that it's an invasive species, or okay, this was the first time that somebody reported this species in Barcelona. We are going to study this. Thank you very much, etc. So we are continuously talking with the volunteers, and we cannot do it alone. So the mobilizing community, they also are like talking with their own clients to increment and to improve this learning. Also, we try to communicate the results as much as we can in different formats and in different ways, like in press releases, infographics, in social media, etc., and even in face-to-face events to present the results. And also one of the biggest motivation for people to participate, and also for NGOs usually, is that we try that the administration use the data collected. For example, in Barcelona City Council, they have a biodiversity atlas, and until like 3 years ago, there wasn't any kind of marine living organism, marine animal there. And thanks to the participation of the volunteers and thanks to the pictures uploaded to MINKA to the volunteers, now we have the fisher layer, a crustacean layer, etc., etc. So we, at the end, the city council has realized that, okay, we are a sea city, and we have to take into account the species in the sea when you are managing the urban territory. Also, we have created these visual dashboards for decision makers. So the city councils and the people in charge of managing the areas can have like an inventory of species. They can have like a vision of what is happening, if they have invasive species or they have protected species in their area, etc., etc. And that is something that NGOs and citizens really appreciate, because they want that the data collected, analyzed, etc., it's being useful. They want that this data it's going to improve the area where they are living. And also that is why we involve the government and the city councils from the beginning of the project, because we have to convince them that this data is going to be useful. So we present them with these visual dashboards and other kind of tools that could be useful for them. It's like, okay, you are going to participate in this project, but I'm going to do your life easier because you don't have this information now and you need it, and I'm going to provide you in the format that you want to have it. Also, like the third engagement role is reducing the barriers to participation. As I said, the mobilizing community and the facilitating community, they organize guided scuba diving or guided snorkeling activities. And always prior enter to the water, they explain what is citizen science, what is MINKA, how to use it, how to identify the most common species, etc. So we have this leader training prior the activity. And also they provide like for free or a very cheap price, underwater cameras, the scuba glasses, etc. So all the materials they need to participate in the activity. And finally, super important, the acknowledgement. We always try to acknowledge the participation of the citizens, because we are not the one gathering the data, analyzing the data, etc., etc. People and the public is the ones yes, collecting the data, and they are the owners of the data. So all the stakeholders in these living labs, each time that we publish a guide or we publish an academical product, etc., we always acknowledge the participation of the volunteers. We put the names of the volunteers every time that we can. We also mention them on social media. We also have rankings in MINKA where you can see how people is going. We organize face-to-face events. If we are presenting something in the city council or whatever, we invite some of the volunteers to participate, to thank them the participation in the project and to recognize the participation, etc. And we also ask them to participate in the analysis of the data, because sometimes we have some questions, some research questions to answer, but they are not the ones that they need, that the citizens need. So we also organize these face-to-face events to analyze the data with some tools that we have developed. So at the end, you can see that, well, the stakeholders can participate in different kind of levels in your project. And the idea is that you have to think at the beginning, okay, which will be the roles that the citizens are performing. So then you can start thinking which kind of stakeholders will be helping or will be willing to participate in my project, and involve them from the beginning of the project. The idea is that you have to think what the stakeholder need, not just what you need. An NGO or an SME or a city council will not be participating in your project if they are not having a profit. Even if you are paying or not or whatever, but they have to find the utility on this. So you have to provide them with something, even it's like creating new clients, or like you are going to provide them with information that they don't need, or you are going to give them visibility or whatever. But you have to think not just in the citizens, but also what your stakeholders are going to get. And that's it with it. Like it's like trial and error, and not all the stakeholder works the same, and you have to just to trial and error until you have like a perfect machine working together with all the stakeholders working together. And well, that's it from my side. So thank you very much for listening, and I'm ready for your questions.
Thank you, Sonia. Very interesting presentation on more of a theoretical approach to citizen science projects. Very interesting. Gordon, will you lead the Q&A questions? I'm not seeing you there. You're mute.
Yes, I'm here. And I just say thank you so much, Sonia. I think that was, well, for me personally, incredibly informative and captured everything about the process of citizen engagement and all its complexities in order to be successful. It's very complex, as you described, but it's already very well thought out. with lots of steps. So I have a number of questions myself, but I'm going to hold them until the participants raise their questions. Apologies, I'm not that used to Zoom, so there's a separate Q&A part, which I didn't see until now, but there's one question from Silvia Rayo Luengo. I'm going to read it out. She says, "Thank you, Sonia, for your insightful presentation. Very interesting. I'm starting a project in which I will need to engage many types of stakeholders. As I saw in your presentation, one of the first steps is stakeholder mapping. Do you have any recommendation on how to start this mapping? Is there a first step? And I want to ask if the link of the article about the Janus engagement framework can be shared. Thank you."
Okay, so not an exact methodology to engage to have this mapping of stakeholders, but what I recommend is to divide the stakeholders into the Quintuple Helix spheres. So you have the academia, the policymakers or government, the industries, and then citizens, because you can think about like neighborhoods associations, so different kind of associations where people tend to meet and be together. And then I think that the very important thing is that you have to know the territory and you have to know the network of associations and industry that it's there. So if you want to, for example, I'm from Barcelona. If I want to create a project in another city or in another part of the world, I will have first to contact a person there willing to lead and to collaborate with me with this citizen science project. Because if you don't know which, like the economical situation, the language, and you don't know the network of and the industry there, etc., it will be very difficult to identify the stakeholder that will be like perfect for you. So first, if it's in your territory, start digging and start searching which other similar projects that are working also in citizen science or maybe in similar projects, and divide it into this Quintuple Helix classification, and then think why they will be willing to participate in your project. Before contacting them, you have to be clear. You have to have a clear idea of what are you going to offer them, because are you going to offer them a way to create clients? Are you going to offer them information, visibility, whatever? But that's my...
So perhaps if I could come in, the PHAROS project is starting in its stakeholder engagement, and the first step is the stakeholder mapping. And all European projects nowadays have a list of stakeholders and living labs. I see Danny from Icorsa is online, and I don't know if she's willing to give a summary of the steps taken so far, and both in the Excel tool that was developed as a template, but then the registration form for inviting stakeholders using the EU survey platform, and some experience that's about what type of categories of stakeholders, countries, questions, demographic questions, and then even GDPR. Danny? Okay. Yeah, I see that this Zoom is using both a panelist discussion as well as participants, and I can't even see the participants. So I'll just very briefly say that we started off by creating an Excel where we had separate columns to define what we want to find out from our stakeholder. For example, what stakeholder category are they in? Are they a citizen, policy, industry, a fish or organization? So those demographics. Then what discipline are they in? Are they an engineer? Are they a doctor? Are they just to get to know our citizen? What speciality they're in? Do we need to know if they're male or female? Yes, or other. That helps to see if there's a bias in our samples or our stakeholder list. And then country of origin. country where are they living? And that might be country or region or even city if you're down to that level. We haven't asked the age actually, which is interesting. And then the private information, their name, their email address, their phone number. And we got into quite a lot of discussion on GDPR and the sharing of this list, who has access, who is the owner. So we came to the conclusion that we will designate the local area people who will collect the lists. They will only have exclusive access to the names and private information, but then anonymized data will be sent then to a central person like Sonia, who's coordinating the whole action. She doesn't need to know the names or the email addresses. She just needs to know the results. What's the general demographic and total number, and do we have a broad base across the regions? What you have mentioned, Sonia, for me as a good question is the stakeholder engagement plan. In other projects I'm in, there's actually a need for a plan and how you engage your stakeholder, how often you engage them, how do you make certain that you're not asking the same question multiple times, or that multiple people are asking the same person multiple times, because you get stakeholder burnout. Is there a stakeholder engagement plan that you have that's generic, or does MINKA have one?
Yes, we have our yes, stakeholder plan. Yes, we have this for this living lab. The first one was for this living lab that I have been talking in the metropolitan area of Barcelona. Yeah, we are the ones like contacting the stakeholders because we want to have like a single one point contact, because we don't want like one stakeholder being contacted for like everybody in the project, because it could be a really stressful and then we can miss these informations. So even that we feel that we are co-organizing the event, we are like supervising the stakeholder engagement and the work that each one of the stakeholder is doing. But also we have, well, in our stakeholder plan, we have planned like, okay, at the beginning of the project, we have these like meetings where we inform like how to use the tool and what is where we are expecting from them, and which are like the rules of the living lab, etc., etc. And then each year we have a meeting to close the year, and we ask them like how to improve it and how not to improve it, etc. We have a series of KPIs at the beginning that we have to get, and we share with them like, okay, we need these KPIs, etc. So it's a really simple plan, because we always say that, okay, we are not the boss of the stakeholder. I can ask them to do something, but they can do it or not. There are sometimes some things that are mandatory, that, okay, you need to comply the GDPR, or you need to have like insurance for the people participating in the project, in the scuba diving activities. So some things like, okay, this is mandatory, you cannot participate if you are not doing that. But at the end, they have their own agenda and their own interests. So sometimes you have to realize that maybe you want to stick to a plan, but it's not going to work, because some of the stakeholders will do as they wishes, and you have to be okay with that too, if it's not in opposite directions of what you want to do. So you have some rules, but each one of the stakeholders have their own way to work. So we tend to adapt. We have this plan, and each year we adapt the plan also, because we have what we call it like the post-mortem meetings, when we just talk about what is working, what is not working, and what we are not going to do anymore next year, and what we are going to improve. And with this, we elaborate the new plan for the coming year. Yes.
Well, I think a simple plan is always wise. It takes effort to create, but it's a cornerstone, and it's a kind of a living document that adapts. Anna, how much longer have we got for questions? Have we got time for a few more?
I think we have time for one more if there is one.
Any more from the audience? I certainly have 6 more, which I'm going to ask Sonia separately, because it's obviously shows how much interest I have in this project. I don't see any more, but for me, I like the categorization of how the citizens can contribute. They can contribute, they can collaborate, but I agree, the co-creation one is, from my experience in past projects, we always aspire to have citizens and other stakeholders to be from the very beginning, to be fully participate in the project, to be part of the design and the various aspects as the project goes through, but we never succeed. How can citizens really co-create and feel like they've helped change or participate in an action?
Well, in my experience and in my opinion, is you will have to have different groups of citizens, and not everybody will be willing to participate from the beginning until the end. It's super rare. Maybe super motivated people that have a lot of free time, but it's not the usual thing. So you will have like a small group, maybe interested in creating the research question, and then you will have a huge group interested in gathering the data. You will have again a small group interested in analyzing the data with you, and even a smaller group interested in discussing the data or trying to trespass this into policy or a policy brief or whatever. So, and sometimes I found useful that, for example, for the last step, sometimes it's not the public, it's not the citizens that you have to search. Maybe it's yes, it's like the city councils or SMEs, NGOs, etc., the one interested in the discussion of the results, but not the citizens sometimes, or journalists even. Journalists, they are interested in the discussion of the results, and maybe citizens are not interested in analyzing the results, but we have found communities, for example, for people using Python or using different kind of programming and visual programming tools. They want to test it and they want to see what happens, and they just want to play with the data, wherever it comes from. So you can target these groups that they just love to play with data, and they will play with the data and they will find something. Sometimes they will find things that you will not be able to find, because you are like centering your goal and you want to find the things that you want to find. And at the beginning of the project, usually then you can have like I have been participating, for example, as a volunteer in different projects. I found this a really good idea, because sometimes when you ask citizens to create the research question, they are a little shy and they feel like, okay, I will not be able to do so. But then we have like these matchmaking events where a citizen can have a partner, a scientific partner, for example. You have like mixed groups of people with different backgrounds trying to co-create these questions. So people are less shy and they are more empowered, like, because, okay, I have my scientific partner that says that this makes sense. So I'm not going to look like I'm stupid when I say this. So I think like for gathering the data, it's no problem. Or gathering samples, or gathering pictures, or gathering any kind of data. But for the other kind of roles, you have to think outside the box and maybe let's look for other kind of communities. Yeah.
My comment is I feel like going to Barcelona and participating in some of the events. They sound so well organized and very fulfilling in many ways. Over to you, Anna, as I think we've got reached our time.
Thank you, Gordon. I don't have a question. It's more of a comment. I think we need to bet more on having citizen science projects at schools so that kids from a very early age can start realizing the importance of being a citizen in their community and being more proactive. I think that sometimes that shyness you were talking about, Sonia, is also part of our cultural, some cultural aspects that we are not used to be active citizens. So
Yeah.
I think we can also start betting on the schools and engage schools in citizen science projects.
Yes, we started 2 years ago to work with a student, but it's difficult because teacher doesn't have the time
The
usually
time,
to
exactly.
do so. So yeah, it's difficult,
Yes.
but I think it's a really good opportunity and it's really good for the students and for the science. Yes.
So thank you very much, Sonia, and thank you, Gordon, for accepting to moderate the session. I think this webinar is an excellent starting point for someone who wants to start planning a strategy for citizen engagement. So thank you very much, Sonia. I guess we are ending our today's weekly hour in the Blue Mission AA. We'll have 3 new sessions in February. So I wish everyone, I guess we are still in January, so it's okay to wish you a wonderful new year.
Thank you.
I will see you then.
Everyone, bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.